Okay.
Yeah, so I'm good. And you, how are you doing?
I'm pretty good, chilling. Just got back from LA. It's nice.
So was it like organized trip uh, for comedians, or was it like vacation and then you did open mics?
Yeah, I got into the Riot Girl Comedy Festival and um we we had to pay for everything, but we got to do the show, so it was pretty cool. And it's expensive because you got to rent a car and Airbnbs are pricey, but it was a really cool group of people. So I'm glad I went. It was a long flight across the country. It was cool.
Yeah.
My first festival.
Yeah, I see it's not just with comedy, even for example with the fighters or singers. At the beginning you have to pay the expenses.
Uh-huh. So stupid, right?
I mean, it's like everyone must go through this.
Yeah.
So, it's very interesting where I am. So there is no, I am in Paphos. I'm sure you never heard of it. Yes. So this city is so beautiful. It's like the 10 top beautiful beaches in Europe. And are you Googling Paphos?
Yes.
Did you find it?
Yes.
Paphos, Cyprus.
Oh my God, it's beautiful.
Yeah. So, but people don't know stand-up comedy. So for me, I got to learn stand-up comedy in the Zoom, only from the Zoom. And I went here and trying to make it in real life. So I start doing open mic from my house. I invite people from like volleyball or whatever, and I push myself out of my comfort zone, and I went and I start talking to the bars owners around because it's touristic. So finally two of them accepted, and what I love is that it's tourist. So there is, for example, tourists out of nowhere, they don't know that there is stand-up comedy, or they are not expecting stand-up comedy in their trip. And I would just stand up and I'm like, I'm doing stand-up comedy. So people are so like welcoming because they are tourists from the UK, most of them, and Germany, and they are happy. And it's exciting. Like every time I go to the same bar, maybe every 2 to 3 days, and there is different people also because it's touristic. In winter there is nobody.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
That's
really
so cool.
yeah.
And big ups for you for just doing it. I mean, do you do the tourists want to do it too? Like, do they want to have a spot?
No, it's only me. I had one friend, he's from Germany, but he kind of didn't get enough laugh, so he quit.
Okay.
So I was like, whatever. But also what's interesting for me is that I start working on jokes, and other comedians were helping me. I used to go to comedy workshop, or for example, when I come to Ham and Brian. But now I'm reading a book on how the joke should be constructed and the surprise. And now I value my materials more. I get to know, like, I get my materials and I didn't even know them. But now I even understand why people laugh. Before I didn't even understand why. And it seems really also interesting.
That's beautiful. I mean, I think that people probably don't read enough, period, ever. And I think that Ham and Brian are like a really big place for me to go for people who have been doing it for a while and will like give you real feedback, because I don't want feedback from someone who can't do better than me on stage. I don't want feedback from someone who's never been on stage. And I don't really want feedback from someone who I don't think is funny either. And like they are all of that. And one of the people I met at the festival also does like coaching, kind of comedy related. And they have a book that I just started called the Tao of Comedy.
Okay.
And it's different. Here, I can send you a picture of it too.
Yeah.
I know it's on like Amazon, but I've read a few books and I would love to hear the one that you're reading. And I've just started this one and it's very different. And I think it wouldn't be a good book to start with if you've never read anything about comedy. But I mean, the whole idea, like her subtitle is Embrace the Pause, and like watching so many, because the cool thing about the festival I went to was there were like workshops. So I went to like a workshop on sketch writing, which I have never done. I have no idea. And I can like send you the notes because it's similar. Like he basically just gave us like a few codes of how interactions can happen between people that are funny. And it's like, there's 8 ways that he thinks that you can interact. And it's like this dude, I'll send you a screenshot of like a picture of the page, because it's just good to have like those kinds of things in your head, not necessarily because you're going to like write it by a formula, but because at least then you do what you just said, is like you're like, oh shit, that's why that was funny. Like, that's why people laugh. Okay, I can cut out everything but that, because that's what actually was the funny part. And I feel like that was something really interesting to watch in the open mics and the other shows. So many people, it seemed like, don't really know where their punchline is. And like a lot of times I don't either. Or what I think is the punchline is actually like something after the punchline, or is, like, and thinking about when like I ramble through my material trying to get through as much of it as possible. And I don't pause very much, or like enough to like the pause is what tells you to like laugh, And so if we're not pausing, are we telling them to laugh, or are we telling them to like stay quiet until the end, So I've been really thinking about that myself. And I think like now that I'm thinking about it, I see it in other people's sets too. I'm like, oh, don't talk yet. Shh, wait,
Yeah.
But I love that shit. I would love to hear, what book are you reading right now?
So the book I'm reading, it's called The Comedy Secrets Writing. And it really explains to you why we laugh. I can send it to you. I have it in PDF. You can start reading it. So this book, it kind of like, for example, when you have a car and it opens the whole car to small pieces and shows like, it's all about, it tells you why we laugh, and also it involves so much science, and because it's new, it's new, so it also takes from science about how our brain works, psychology, even about our ancestors. It tells you, it makes you, I feel that you can be a good comedian by how much more you have knowledge about laughter and where it comes from. So the more you have knowledge about it, that's what makes you more professional. And you need to know more than others so much.
Yeah.
So others get surprised when you make them laugh because they just don't know about it. Maybe if there is a doctor, he knows how to open body. And I feel that's what everyone should do. And humans, you should find a work like this. You should find something that you really can have more knowledge than others, because one person cannot have knowledge in all aspects of life. So as humans, you must find what you can participate in, and you must have more knowledge than everyone. It's hard because we have to know, but I feel that's what everyone's supposed to do. And that's why many people are not happy, depressed, because they are not really participating. They are just making it. And that's what we are trying to make it happen. And I feel that everyone can make it happen. The only thing is that also some wrong ideas. Like I see too many comedians, maybe they are doing it for 10, 20 years, but because they adopt some ideas and they are married to it, it's sad to see people life goes like that.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true. And just thinking about, like, we all as comedians start off, I don't know what the metaphor is. Like, we only have so many crayons to color our picture. We all start with the same crayons, you know? And there's only so many things of this world and of other worlds that we can talk about. It's the same shit. Relationships, family, our jobs, our hobbies, you know, things that happen to us, doctors. It's the same shit. We all have just the same shit to talk about. The difference is, what makes me laugh as someone who identifies as funny is when you tell me something from your perspective that I've never thought of, that I'm like, that is so fucking funny, you know? But it's because you could tell me a story about going to the barbershop, and someone else could tell me a story about going to the barbershop. One of them is going to be a better story. And it's about how you tell it, what you say, you know what I mean? And there's some comedians that, for me, like, I feel like there's nothing new in the way they're saying it that makes me really laugh. The people who I seem to connect with are people like you, who tell things in such a way that you can't have thought of it before, you know, that it's like, oh shit, I didn't even know. And like that element of surprise, I guess, is what makes it like that much more funny, you know? And I don't think everyone has found, I mean, I guess some people would call that your voice, or like finding your oneness of yourself. I don't think everybody has that in mind when they write. And I'm not a very consistent writer. I write out loud rather than on paper. But I feel like I try to write it from, like, what has been consistently funny to other people are stories about my life that are at least a little true.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true for you too, a little.
Yes, I want to talk about your writing, but before that, I want to tell you that I read in the book that always people like to feel superior, like bitter. Am I saying the word right? Superior, or the word that you
superior. Yeah.
So
superior.
For me, when I talk about Yemen or about my situation, people feel like, for example, if your day suck, if you have problems and you are like, oh, and then you hear someone from Yemen who comes and say, we don't have banks. So this is where I start. People start to laugh when they feel like this. And then also we laugh when we solve a puzzle in general. When someone score a goal, they laugh. When someone do this, we hide also our emotions with laugh.
Yep.
So and then I bring the misdirect. Like I make people get misdirect, and then I say, but for example, we don't have banks, but we have Apple Pay. So it's like they didn't see it coming. They didn't see it coming, but it makes them like feel that they solve a puzzle. You know, it's like, so that's what I'm learning from the also the book, that it makes more sense of your jokes and you learn them more and you become also better writer. So you told me that you write when you are talking. Can you tell me that about that more?
Yeah, it sounds weird, and I want to go back to what you said about solving a puzzle, because that sounds so right. But only person that I've talked to in our comedy world and in the worlds that I've been in who is similar a little to this is him. And I don't know, like, when I've tried writing a lot of different ways, and I've asked a lot of people how they write, and like, there's a lot of different ways people do it. Some people, like at the festival, I saw people that had like index cards with the whole thing written out that they were using like at the open mics, and they would just talk and flip through them. You know, I know some people who have like documents with like stuff typed out on it. And I've tried that around my jokes, and I've even tried recording myself and then kind of typing it as if it were a script or like a monologue, and like trying to pick, you know, like at least underlining like the words that were funny or the words that got a laugh or the words. And I don't know, like what I've been doing lately is more like bullets on paper, and is more like, in preparing for my festival, I would write the punchline sort of the jokes of like in the order that I wanted to tell them. And then I would like write one word to help me remember it. And like, that's how I memorized my set, I guess. But when I try to write out like the whole joke, the way I want to say it, and then I try to perform it from that, I'm like a robot. Like I'm not talking to you. I'm like kind of worried about, am I going to miss the word? Am I saying it in the right order? Like I'm not present, and it's not as funny. It's really not as funny. And so like, I don't know what that means for my writing. It means that I'm not a great writer at the moment in the way that you prove to other people that you're writing. You know what I mean? Because I don't have, like, I have a list of my jokes, and some of them is just a couple of words, and like I could tell you it, but it's not, I don't have it all the way written out. And like, I wonder how bad that is, because I know that other people have just books and books and books of jokes and written all the way out. I don't know, it has not been like, that has drained me in ways that I didn't find helped me get funnier. And I don't really know, like, I don't know.
So first of all, what, for example, we talked about that you must have like a story where you make, for example, the audience feel bitter. I even forget the word. Can you say it again?
Superior.
Yeah, you must catch them, and then you must like break it. For example, you make them think that they are in control. They know where this will end, but then it ends something different that makes sense, but they didn't even see it coming. And maybe so. This you should. I feel that yes, you can write, for example, keyword for it, and it comes with practice. For example, when you go to open mics the first time and you record yourself, it's not gonna be like you're not gonna put it so good. But then when you go one more time, two more time, three, and you listen to your set, and you know, what did you forget? Did you forget to bring, how many punchlines you forgot, and all these things? I feel it's like also fighting. When you learn a punch, you learn your first fight, it might not be so accurate. And also, every time you go to the stage, your heart rate goes down from time to time. Like if we measure your heart rate on the first time you go to the stage, or the fifth time, your heart rate will be lower, and it shows that when your heart rate is lower, you are able to make better decisions. That's why when people are so scared or bad. So the 1,000th time that you go, or the 2,000th time, will be even better. So there is not even limit how this. So that's how I view it, that you should find what you write, all this, and then just you practice it on audience, and record yourself, and see what you forgot, and slowly.
Dude, I 100% agree with you. And I felt that in practice at this festival, because like, you know, at open mics, I don't get jitters anymore usually, because it's a bunch of dudes. I don't care. Like, I don't, you know, I'm just there to practice my shit. But at this particular festival, it was called Riot Girl. It was mostly women. My jokes hit better with women. I like women. I want women to like me. You know, like I realized I care what they think more than I usually would when I'm just doing an open mic. And I felt it all again. Like I hadn't felt the nerves like that in a while. And the first night of the festival, ooh, I forgot a lot of my punches. And like right when I went off stage, I was like, fuck, I could have said this. And right after that, if I had said this, and I haven't felt that in a while. And I think it was the nerves, and like it felt like it mattered more. And it felt, and every day that I did an open mic there again, I remembered like fucking breathing, and it was better. Every day it was better there. So I'm like 100% with you. I think that's very true.
Yeah, you really have to make the stage your place where you can feel like so. Yeah, I feel like with audience, because I don't know, it's crazy for me because like I came from a place where it's very decriminalized as a man to like man. It's like, and what's also like it's crazy, but in Yemen the idea of lesbian don't even exist. Like women don't have voice, so it's like it doesn't even exist. And for me it's like for some time I was like, what if I like man? But because where I come from is it, but this is the thing that I'm so sure. Yeah, but I feel that our bodies really tells us what's where to go. It's crazy. Is it like our instincts, or what is it? Or
I don't know. I mean, I think you're right. It's our bodies, it's our biology. I mean, there's fucking pheromones involved. And like, I think that if you listen, but like you said, some people aren't in a place where they could listen if it felt different, it's like you almost would have cut that part of yourself off for it. It doesn't even exist for you, and like what you said, like the idea of lesbians don't exist, but I bet you that some lesbians do exist very secretly, like very fucking, I would bet you there are a few that are risking their lives because they figured it out. I studied in Argentina, and there was a long time where it was not okay to be gay there. And it was kind of crazy, the lengths to which people will like hide and do things very secretively once they realize there's something different, And so I just like, I think that you're right that your bodies tell you, but I also think that sometimes your body might not know to tell you because it was taught that that was not okay. And so there's a tension there,
I think that's the problem, the tension that your body is desiring something else, but what you are taught is something else. And I feel that's not just the problem with this, with everything.
Yep.
That I feel like, and I really even like, it's crazy, but I feel different. Just my like, I don't know if this is bad, tell me, but let's say like if there is girls in the shop, for example, I will be more willing to tip. If there is boys, I will. I really like. I don't care. I'm to this point where I know that I'm really straight, and sometimes I feel that maybe I shouldn't be like this. But that's how much my body is even affecting, even on my reactions for even tipping or anything.
Yep. No, I mean, that's a very real thing. I know in America, tipping is the only way to survive if you work in restaurants. And a lot of times I worked as a hostess, the person who would take you to your table. We would always put men, like tables of men with a woman waiter. And we would always put women with a man waiter just because of what you said, because psychologically, you know what I mean? Like men are going to tip a woman if her titties are out. And if a man waiter flirts with you a little, you're going to tip him more, right? Yeah. And so, I mean, I think that to that, like, they're playing us, and like, I think that's a real thing. You know, I really do. And I think there's something to be said for like everybody. Have you heard of like sexuality being a spectrum? Have you heard of that idea before? So, you know, a lot of people think of it as like either you're gay or you're straight. You like the same or you like the opposite. But
Oh,
a lot of people say it doesn't have, we don't have to think of it that way. You can think of it as where you could be anywhere along the scale. You know, you're not necessarily 100% straight or 100% gay. I mean, I talk about being gay a lot, but like, I've liked men. I do have attraction to some men, you know,
nice.
certain men, not lots of men, but like, you know, like some of them can get it, you know? And
Nice.
so, I mean, whatever, like that's what it is for me, you know, and I think it's a lot easier for me as a woman to say that than it would be for you as a man to say that, because I do think there sometimes is more stigma or shit around bisexual men. I think that's fucked up, but I do think that in some cases, you know, people accept a woman who goes both ways more than they would accept a man who might go both ways. And I think that's something we have to work on.
Oh my God. But let me ask you, so for you, you will be attracted to some man. Is it like the way they look, the way this, because also they say that the way women get attracted to someone is so gentle and sweet and it takes time and they are
Uh,
picky. But man, it's like any woman, it's like I'm down. So what like attract you? Is it like from the first look, or then maybe you get more attracted when the person talk, the voice? What makes winners? What makes these people winners?
I don't know. I mean, I think I could think of it both ways, which is not helpful at all. But like there are some people who I just find to be attractive, you know, that are just beautiful people, whether they're male or female. Um, like, you know, there's dumb celebrities I could tell you, like Jason Momoa. Do you know who that is?
No.
It's fine. He's probably really dumb, no offense, but maybe if this gets Jason Momoa's attention, like, hey, he's probably really dumb. I think he's very attractive. He's a big man. He's like nothing like a woman. He's the opposite. He's like super like man,
Yes.
but he has long hair. It might be the long hair. Like some of it might be feminine features on men, like men who will wear their hair longer, or like you seem like you shave a lot and you like take care of yourself. I like a man who like keeps themselves clean and shaved and like
Yeah.
whatever, you know. And I definitely think there's other men who, once I get to know them, I'm definitely more attracted to people that, I mean, it's funny, but it's kind of softer personalities of men. And I often find that it's men who were raised with a lot of women, like a female household, like lots of sisters or just their mom, like something about men who have been already around lots of women, because I think they just like are a little more sensitive or in tune with like that other side, you know, because like fucking men and women are very different, you know. I think
Yeah.
they really are.
No, but can you, like, for example, be walking in the street where let's say there is 100 men, and you just feel it. You look to that person and you are like, this can get it just by the first look.
I think that's happened a few times. I think that's happened more for me when I was traveling. I think American men are kind of ugly sometimes, no offense. But I think I found it like a lot in Spanish speaking countries or Cuba. Like, yeah, I've seen, oh, yes, absolutely, that has happened to me. But I wonder if that's because since I like women, there's a part of me that's masculine too. You know, like the way you said, like you would get it with anyone, you know, I wonder if like a little bit of me has a little more masculine of a mind. And that's why I'm able to do that, because I'm more like you guys than just like girls, you know? I don't know. I don't really know.
Wow. But also, this is also a little bit like, um, how do you feel like when a woman like some like, for example, a guy? usually guys go and approach. For example, if you like this guy, would you wait for him to come and approach you, or if you like him, you will be okay? You are just gonna go and see what's going on with him or with here.
I don't know. I think that's a good question. I think, as fucked up as it sounds, I would probably feel more comfortable approaching a girl rather than approaching a guy. But I think that's also because I've been with more girls than with guys, maybe. I don't know. And I think that's a little fucked up because like I should feel comfortable approaching guys too, especially because I look pretty gay. I don't think dudes are gonna come up to me. So I would need to be the one to like indicate, you know, but there's some weird, maybe that's some gender shit from, you know.
Yeah, or in our DNA, because I feel that if you're really single or in open relationship or whatever, and you like someone, I count it as like you lost some pleasure, and the barrier was that you didn't go and talk.
Huh. Yeah,
I
that's
don't
so
know.
fair.
I feel like we have one life, so it's like if you really like this person, I mean, anyway, and also
YOLO.
I'm going so deep because I'm also watching in Netflix. There is a series that called Pleasure, and I feel that there is no limit because they are really talking so openly that we oppress ourselves. Like me coming from Yemen, I think that in America people are like, but then I watch this documentary and it even makes fun about people in America, and even with how open people are, still we really like to figure yourself out more and to know what makes you happy without any barriers. But I feel like we kind of grew up that like sex or pleasure and all these things are a little bit like we don't even talk about them. Even like a girl with her mom, a dad with his kid, even for example in the US. So I feel because I do feel that we were monkeys and now we are humans. So I think we just decriminalize some things and push it back. And that's why people don't know a lot about it and didn't find themselves.
You're very right. And I think it starts with like, we don't even talk to our kids about their bodies and what their bodies are going to go through. You know, like I didn't get a talk about periods or a talk about sex from my mom. And I grew up in the South and it was abstinence only education around sex. So we didn't get to talk about anything about sex. It was no sex. Don't have sex. Like that was not helpful, you know, and that left a lot of us wondering, and probably some of us pregnant and some of us with STDs and some of us having really bad sex for a long time because we didn't know. And the only place we could go is porn. And porn is not a good source for information, or it's a very narrow lens of what's okay. Even though there's so much porn out there, it's still like there's one way that you can look. There's one way that you can sound. There's one thing that will please the other person, and it's all about the other person. And it sets us up for failure. It sets us up to have really bad relationships and sex and bad understandings of our bodies. Ignorant understandings of our bodies.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I think that music, internet, comedy, all these things are helping, which drives me crazy that, for example, in Yemen or in Saudi, people don't have access to these things. You know that until now in Yemen and Saudi, there is religious police that don't allow music. If music you can listen like within your house or with like it's a little bit still decriminalized. to really listen to music. And you know, through music, people, it's an art. People express themselves. People say things that makes you wonder. So I feel that's the reason why they are trying to block people. And it's really also horrible.
Yeah, I am sad to hear that, and I didn't really know that necessarily, and it makes sense. And I think it kind of highlights the problems when we mix religion and law, and like mix it to the point that like we stop creativity and we stop possibility and we stop expression for religious reasons, because I think that that helps keep people ignorant, and it helps keep them uninformed and unable to think outside the box. Because like, how did you even find comedy? Was it literally like the Joe Rogan podcast? How did you find it?
The Joe Rogan
That was it?
podcast.
And like, what if you had never found it? Like, we wouldn't be having this conversation. You wouldn't be doing the things you're doing in Cyprus. Like, one thing, one expression, one creation has changed your world, you know, and that's all it takes. And that's why they're scared, because all it would take is one song, one book, one comedy. Wow. And then there would be someone who strays from that religion, and then you lose power, right? And that's really what it's about, is the power thing.
You really hit in a very good point that these things change the world and the reality to a reality where I'm now open about talking, for example, about sex, talking about having fun, talking about, for example, eating mushroom, or why some drugs are decriminalized, you know, and they are so scared from this because they will lose power. Beautiful. And I also want to ask you, why do you think, as growing up in the South, why do you think, I'm sorry to say it this way, and I hope I'm not rude, but why do you think the South is also still behind a little bit?
Yeah, I think it actually is religion. I think it's just Christianity, because the South of the United States is very, very religious, very Baptist, very Methodist, more of the restrictive types of Christianity that are bad against abortion, are bad against gay people. And it's that mentality. And so that also, I think there's a correlation, and I don't know, I haven't done the research, but I think there's a correlation between the amount of churches in a place and the amount of poverty in a place. So when people are more poor, a lot of times they don't have access to other things. There happen to also be a lot of churches around that support them. If that's a place where you can go for community, for food, for resources, for help.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing else for you, no comedy, no music, no art museums, no history, then all you know is what they're telling you. And if what they're telling you is just the Bible, wow, then you're going to live in just the Bible, and you're going to recreate that, which means you're going to wait until marriage to have sex. You're going to get married and immediately start having children. You're going to baptize all your children and stay in the church. You might even go make a new church, because we're still fucking missionarying America. Like, there's still new churches being made.
Wow.
I want to look like, I feel ignorant saying it without having the research, but I feel like I've seen it with my eyes, like as I drive through the South. There's way more churches in the South than the North, way more. And I think that the places where I see the churches are also places that are not rich.
Shit. As we talked at the beginning, that some ideas makes people behind. With whether you want to be a comedian or whether you want to progress with your life or anything, and it's really crazy. But we say that, for example, Islam came like 1,400 years ago, and Christianity came 2,000 years ago, or even more. So that's why some people say that's why people in America are developed, because it's been longer. But it seems that timing may help, but if people don't want to move, for example, sorry, the case in the south, even time cannot help, and
Yep.
you're gonna stay there. It's really crazy.
And I think it's hard to escape whenever generations have been there. You know, I taught kids at my school in the South that were farmers, literally stuck to their land, whose family had been farmers for generations and generations. He ain't going nowhere. He's staying right there because all he knows his whole life is farming. So he's going to stay in that tiny ass town
Good.
doing that shit for the rest of his life, happy with his church, with his friends, and he will never know New York City, Broadway. He'll never know homeless people. He'll never know art. He'll never go to see museums. He won't even understand how important they are because all he knows is farming.
Wow.
Like that shit is still very real here, you know? And I don't think that's a experience that only happens in America, but I think people don't realize that there are places where that is still happening here right now, you know?
Yeah, people don't realize sometimes. It's just what you hear from the news is all what you know. It's fascinating because we also kind of relate, because also in Yemen, it's even more crazy than the South. There are generations that takes the same job from like butchers, and there is class system as well. So if you come from generation where, for example, butchers and barber shops are in the low, so low, and when you are low, you are also limited. You can only hang out with the low people. You can marry only from the low people. But the higher you are, the more options under you. So is it in the South like this? More class system? Farmers, only married from farmers, businessmen, and where you come from, and it's associated by the family name and where you are.
That's a really good question. I mean, I think it depends on where you are. I don't think it's like a yes or no answer, but I think there's places where that's true. And it's not necessarily because there's like a caste system in place, but I think it's more like fucking geographic. Because this dude, the biggest city that he'd ever gone to is like not a big city. And I don't think he will ever go beyond a certain radius from his house. So he won't be able to be exposed to a businesswoman if he wanted to marry her, because he would never even be in the same bar as a businesswoman unless the businesswoman came to his town. And that was the same in New York too. I taught in New York for a bunch of years. And you know, like the Bronx is above New York, like Manhattan. Everybody talks about Manhattan and Brooklyn. The kids who lived in the Bronx, so Manhattan has like Times Square and like a bunch of other shit, the Statue of Liberty. These kids in the Bronx that were right here had never been to Manhattan. They had never taken the subway into Manhattan. They didn't know about Times Square. They hadn't seen, and they had lived an hour maybe from it their whole life, but nobody had ever invited them. They never, you know, they never thought to go. They didn't have a reason to go. They didn't have the money to go. So they never fucking knew. So in those two very small, you know, it wasn't that there's like systems in place, but there are, you know, there's money, there's geography, like there's access. And sometimes they don't even know. Like I took them on a trip to some places, and watching their eyes whenever they would see this stuff for the first time, like made me cry. Because to me, it's regular shit. I walk by this, you know, but they're like, holy fuck. And they never would have done it, you know?
Unbelievable. You know what also drives me crazy, and that's why also I like to generate more materials. Being from Yemen, you cannot go any country in the world. There is no way, because we are high risk country, we are third world country, and we don't have we don't have banks. So for example, if you want to go to other countries, at least they ask your bank statement. And from Yemen, no immigration allow you to come in, because they know when you come in, you will never leave. you coming from country where there is not even banks. And the other issue is that people are poor. So it's like a puzzle, a very hard puzzle to solve, to be born from Yemen. And I met my girl, she's from Canada, and I left Yemen. My family has some small amount of money, and I left as a student to here, Cyprus. But Cyprus is kind of easy to get in, but there is no human rights. You know, if so, for example, from Yemen to get to Canada or to a country where you can have full potential, it's almost impossible. You can come to countries like this where they don't even know stand-up comedy. It's still like in the middle, you know. So even the way you move is slow. So, and then when I come here, I meet my girl from Canada, but how many people from Yemen will be able to live to the middle, to a place like this? And then from here, it's even hard. Then you meet someone from. So I do feel so fortunate, and I also feel that we are like art is like a mission, because some people also are, for example, doing comedy for money. I think that's wrong reason. Like we all need the money. We all want to be rich. That's very big motivation for me. It's an escape. To be rich is an escape. But I feel that you should have some reasons before the money, just some, and then make the money maybe number 3 or 4. But you should feel first of all your mission. So how do you feel like also you are in a mission? Because for me, I feel that people relate to me, and I try also, as I told you, to make it funny, because I feel the best way. I do believe in comedy, because we talk that people might change from a song, from anything, but I think the best way is when you are laughing and changing. That's the key. So I feel that way. So how do you feel in, for example, your journey, or the way you, especially you are teacher, and I really feel teachers are angels.
Yeah, no, that, I mean, as you were talking, I was like, I feel like my mission is some sort of education, you know, and it's not like school education, but it's like, I want to enlighten you. I want to make you think in a way that you didn't think before. I want to make you consider something from a perspective that you haven't thought of before. And like, ultimately, I do want to make the world nicer to gay people, Black and brown people, teachers, you know, I do. And I talk about all of those topics. And I think sometimes I end up preaching more than making jokes, but I'm okay with that, because I would rather have a purpose to what I'm saying. And I would rather at the end of the time, somebody leaves with one little thing that they can't get out of their mind, rather than just laughing. And to your point, and like, I think I can't wait to read this book that you're talking about, but like from the education side of it, people learn best whenever they're comfortable. Being comfortable, you have to feel safe, you have to feel ready, and you have to feel welcome. What is one way to make people feel safe and ready and welcome is by making them laugh. So inherently, by creating comedy, you're already a little bit closer to someone's heart and mind than a song might be, because you've already, their defenses were like this, but as they laugh, boop, 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 and that's whenever they can actually learn something and grow and hear it, right? Because if you start and their wall is up and you don't get something in the first few lines, their wall stays up and you bomb, because you can't get them to have their guard down. But once you can tell that their guard is down, then is your opportunity to do whatever the mission is, you know. And like from a brain science standpoint, like that's so true.
Yeah, that's also what I think comedy is. You are trying to release laugh, trying to make people relax, put your guard down so you can be in charge. That's what you do. And I don't know. I try to keep this podcast around 1 hour, because I have other things also to do. But it's like when I have conversation with people like you, I really feel sad that I'm keeping it for this time, because it's really so rewarding that also when I do this, it's like you don't know how it will go. And when I do it with people like you, that even it exceed my expectations, it's a really nice feeling at the end. And I really appreciate you for giving me that chance and the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. This has been so fun, and I'm so glad I got to talk to you and know you more. And if you ever want to do a part two, I would absolutely do a part two, because I feel like I could talk to you for a really long time.
Yes, like it's beautiful. Also, I feel fortunate that I feel more connected to people. I also don't pick everyone in my podcast. I pick people that I feel I am connected to them. And then it's also blessed that also when I have you, I even feel I'm more connected. And I really see it that hopefully we will see each other in real life one time, because this is my vision. I want to go all around, and I hope it will happen. So
Oh,
thank
it's
you.
gonna happen, baby. Thank you so much. I've
I
really loved
appreciate
talking to you.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.